Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new army painting series. This is going to be episode 1 of series 19. We're going to wander back into 40K and we're going to do that with the Sisters of Battle, something I've been looking forward to for quite a while because I've really wanted to get back to these bases. Now, some of you are aware, and I think I'll link some, I'll throw some links to the blog and just to give it in the description to give you a little bit of a reference of where all this is coming from with the greens and golds. But with the new Sisters of Battle, I thought it'd be really fun, and especially since they're on these bigger bases. And it's actually everybody's on a bigger base. Even the Repentia here go on 28s instead of 25s. So that's going to be fun. You've got your new Seraphim here, so I thought this could be an opportunity for new flying bases. I have basically samplers of all the different types. I think the one I didn't get to make was an Arcoflagellant, but they're also on the same size base as the Repentia. So I also have Sister Superiors and that sort of thing. I think I also have, we've got our, I don't know if they still call that the, whatever the heck this was called, but I thought some of these would be really fun to try out. We got some that with helmets, some without helmets. Get most of them on these 32 millimeter bases, which is really nifty. You're going to see a host of different products here. You'll see for sure some of these flaming skulls. I mean, come on, Sisters of Battle, fire, flaming skulls. I mean, here's the theme of the army that we're continuing right here. So, I mean, you got to have fire. Wings and fire, gotta have them. Now, it was kind of a little bit of a nod to my old Demon Hunter army. It might be fun to have some of these books here, maybe even do some candles. I want to see, these are from Green Stuff World, as is this, and I want to see if we can maybe put some use to these columns right here. So what I might have to do is just chop out this. Ironically, this goes with the Greek-themed texture roller, but we'll see if we can chop that out, get it to fit on this base, and work with these type of bases, potentially, for this Repentia to be running on, or one of the, where did she go? One of our Seraphim, maybe literally just kind of leaping off of this instead of having the well, they're newer, and they're definitely more interesting. I don't know. I think they go right here. Yeah, so they gotta sit on these things, and it's sort of interesting. Yeah, but it's very obvious what it is. Again, it's definitely a step above what was there before, but still thinking about maybe staying away from that. We also have some of the GW skulls. Part of the story behind these orcs was part of that story, so we might use some of these orc heads and maybe some of these demon heads. I mean, again, to me, they're still witch hunters, but Sisters of Battle, so that could be fun to have as well. We're certainly going to be using our sculpey, and you're going to see some thicker sculpey, some of the regular thin sculpey. Thicker sculpey is going to be more so for walls, because what I like to do is have some walls that they might be, maybe something like this, where there's sort of a mural and she's just sort of leaping off the top of that wall. That could also be fun. So look for that too. We have our tool varieties of cork here. Some of this is going to be experimenting as well. While I love this base, and I wouldn't mind a whole army of these bases here, that would be sort of boring for you. Just, okay, what's the point? I could just do one base and be done with it. We want this to be a little bit more theme also related, and we've got these. We haven't tried these yet, and there's a couple that might be interesting. Again, something like this, where the sister could be leaping off of that. There's just a few of these. Here's another one that I thought had some potential right here, because it also carries that knotwork theme. So we'll see what we do with those. What else? Yeah, maybe. And since this is since the sisters have close cropped hair, as long as they don't have the beards on, maybe even they could be more like sisters. So that guy with the beard, maybe not so much. I don't think we'll do the feet. We're probably not going to do that. Maybe this one right here. possibly. So there's a few of those out there. There. And again, these are also from Green Stuff World. We'll give those a shot. I do have some other statue pieces here. This is from Cyborg Miniatures, I think. Got a couple of these. Maybe we'll give those a try too. Got the usual, and I'm just gonna call it a jeweler's block because that's what I was raised on. That's what look at all those cut marks and holes and everything else. Shows sign of heavy usage, and that means my hands aren't getting cut, but the block is, and that's okay. We can live with that. You can see here, look at how thick you can go with that sculpey. So who knows? Maybe we even utilize this piece. I save them all. These are from past projects right here. Look at all that. Perfectly usable. Nothing wrong with those. We'll see what we can do with some of the, maybe some stair step bases as well. I think there's some bows like this one here. She is actually going up a stair, so what I'll do is probably snip this thing off. I think she was standing on the head of a demon or something. The thing I'll do is snip that off and then maybe have her look like she's walking up something. Again, don't really know yet. Don't quite know. We definitely want to do some special bases for this. Also think too, see how wide that footprint is. Now, of course, these bases are large enough to accommodate that, which is nice, but we'll make a decent sized base. We also want to have as much freehand as we can on our bases. We've got our wood carving tools, several different kinds here. These are some of my favorites, of course. These 90-degree ones, look at that, very nice. Pin vise is essential. You also want to have your paper clips to go with that pin vise. And once you find the size of these that matches the drill bit, you really want to start buying a bunch of those. I'll paint a couple of bases. I think maybe one that's a mural. Again, we don't want to have it be 1,000 hours long. I might even do some special standalone videos for something like this because that might take a little bit longer than the tail end of this video. So we'll just begin with the regular sisters. We'll start this off with some of the most basic bases, no pun intended. Seriously, no pun intended. We'll just do the most easy type of bases here in the first segment. Then we'll maybe move on to something that's a little more elaborate, then into the flying style bases and some of the bases for the leaders where we try and combine some different things. And we'll be right back with that. We'll start this off with the review of the most simple way that we approach the cork and sculpey base. We've got ourselves a piece of sculpey. This was rolled out in a clay extruder, aka pasta machine. Yes, it's just a pasta machine because they all come with recipes and they come with the thing that divides the sheets into the individual noodles. So yes, pasta machine. You can see there's two sides. This one has a little bit of the air bubbles on it, but this side doesn't. This is the side that was facing the ceramic tile. Now that tile has just a hint of texture on it. See that right there? In some ways, it's a little bit nice to have that texture. You can do the ceramic tiles that are totally just glossy, clean, smooth, whatever. But that gets to, I don't know, to me, this is a little bit better. It's a little more universal surface. Plus, we're sort of making semi-ruined marble bases anyway. So I think we want to have a little texture to it. Here's our bases. And we've got 3 sort of different footprints here. Wide, narrow, and kind of in between. And we'll try, I think, maybe one of this type, 2 of the thicker type, and the most, just the easiest way to go about this here. Take your cork, you give it some breakage, and I'm going to turn this upside down So people, they get all jinky about, oh my gosh, it won't be a base to base, this, that, and the other. A, don't care. Second of all, doesn't matter because there are points where this can touch any figure that gets into base bit. And if you're that worried about it, well, then you just break some of this off, and again, it's raised. Guess what? They're probably not going to have a raised base on theirs. Oh, look at that. Absolutely everywhere base touches the base. So yeah, believe me, I've heard it all. Very simple. We just go that down. And this is just garden variety here. It doesn't get much more simple than this. And yes, we will be using some of our oxide paste and such to manage our edges. Okay, so we have the sculpey sheet here. We also have these. Now, do any of these happen to fit this? Oh, some of these do, like this one does. And I'm just going to, a couple things I can do. I can just break it by hand. Or, I mean, I could use a tool. Some snippers here. Let's pop that edge off of there too. Again, it's pretty darn simple. And yeah, we will be taking our oxide paste and we'll work around our edge there to get that cleaned up. But you see, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to all of a sudden, poof, there. You paint it up like that, or you put something like this on there, or you put an extra book on there with some candles or something like that. Guess what? It's way more than just that base. Now I'm thinking that's going to be for this one here because it's got that wide footprint. And I'm also maybe thinking about tossing one of these skulls on there too. It would make it a little bit more interesting than just what we've got here. So what are we going to do? We have potentially a mold line here. Move you over there. And we've got this part here. We're going to cut away now, using that jeweler's block for safety purposes. Let's see, knife goes into the jeweler's block and not me. Always a plus. And so I'm gonna, while I'm thinking about it here, snag me one of those. And I'm gonna do this. Quite literally marking the footprint of the miniature. I mean, you can't get much more literal of the marking of the footprint. So we'll just drop that here. And then away we go. Simple, very simple. Set that off to the side. Maybe we'll try a multi-level version of that. Why? Because we've got this thing here with this smaller footprint. Let's give it a shot. Now I will stick, if I'm going to do multi-levels, I could do it out of this, but I really would prefer to save these thicker pieces for my upright walls. So what we shall do, see how that works. Again, this, see how it's almost like a triangle shape in some ways. Again, that lets other things get right up to the base. And it could be something like this. All right, and then we put our smaller piece of, oh, is this going to be big enough? That's pretty close. Yeah, I think that might just be enough. All right, and now we've got, let's move this off to the side. We have our tool here. Again, I would just kind of take it and carve it off by hand, but safety, safety, safety. I think you can see what's, look at it. See, I give it a little twist. Look what happens there. Let's make sure I've got this orientated the correct way. Okay, that's how it's supposed to be. And I am just gonna drag. There's no way I can cut myself here because I'm not actually cutting. I'm just dragging the knife across this. Just letting a few pieces get popped off here. Get this back. Make sure these are reasonably aligned at the one stage here, and like so. Now again, do I want to have some marble texture down here? I could do that. Here, let's glue this together. Now, this is not the entire army anyway, so I can have multiples of these kind of bases. And now I gotta make sure I've got this set up. Yes, okay, that's set up the way I want it to be set up. I could also use the Luke's APS glue. Now, do I want another level of marble? To be realistic, probably not. You could say, well, why is there a second layer of marble there? I just think it's kind of interesting to have it. Now, I broke that to see. Nah. I'm thinking about here is I'd like to not burn up that piece either. So what I'm going to do is take a little chunk of this right here. And my goal is to actually cut away some of the interior here and have it sort of sneak around that way. Or go the other way and we take away some of the cork. Oh, look at that. That sort of fits on there. Let's glue that in. And we can have broken bits of our, lots of little shattered pieces here. Look at this. Got shattered pieces all over the place. Now that is definitely, I think, somewhere that would call for the oxide paste. I think it's actually what I'm using is called earth paste. We'll see. I'll just double check it here once we get it out. But see all these edges we've got to hide. Another thing we could do, we could have, I think we do want to have some of these skulls over here. I don't know if it's going to be one or two. Let's just do one first. Because sometimes having two of them there, actually it gives you an excuse to do a little bit more of your lighting effects. I'm just going to shave that down. You could file it down too, but okay, see? That's going to go right over here. But first here, I know we're sort of jumping ahead. It's not earth texture. Okay, that's what it is. It's the same stuff from Vallejo. We make sure we've got ourselves a beat up craft brush of some sort here to use. Let's see what we've got available here. Here's one. That's seen some wear and tear. And I'm also going to change my focus here because we're not working right on the 1 second. There. So we got all of these edges that they need to be hidden. That edge. Let's get some stuff down here. So this is what'll make it basically not look like, oh yeah, more cork, yay, another cork base. This is what cloaks that just enough. Also gonna grab just a touch of water here. Now I can say that the fresher your paste is, it can sometimes be a little bit easier to work with when it's newer. This is more, I don't want to say getting to the end of the line, but it's more of it's been used than I thought, to say the least. So I'm gonna double check on the focus. There we go. I think that's a little better. Gonna grab some more, especially here on the back. There's basically three of these levels that I just don't want that line to be there. And you think paint's going to cover that. You think that's going to happen, but that's really not what actually happens. It just, you had that very distinct line there. Same thing with even the sculpey top. And there were times where we would say, okay, well, let's just use that and accentuate that extra line. And then once I really found the oxide pastes, all these different types of texture pastes, then I just started to cover those. It was less work to paint that, but now that's all nice and covered there. And remember what we wanted. We also wanted over here to pile up some. Here, let's get some. I'll just use some of the Luke's APS glue. It's that fast drying glue. We have some of these little broken chunks here. We'll just do something like this. Brush this in. The one nice thing about the earth texture version of this is that it mixes pretty well with regular, like Elmer style glue like we've got here. Some of them don't. I think actually the oxide paste does not like mixing with regular glue. Some do, some really don't. Okay, so that starts to look a little bit more broken. It's kind of cascading down here. Let's get one more piece, if I may, there. I might even just do a little bit of that to hold it in place. So, yeah, that's better. It's sort of hanging off the edge at a weird angle that I didn't want. And our flaming skull, that can go over here. Yeah, I could put two of them there if I wanted it to look a little bit more, have more lighting or something like that, but whatever. Grab just a chunk of this right here, if I can. Okay. Hopefully that'll just kind of stick there. Let's give it just a tiniest hint of super. There we go. Got ourselves another base. Again, this one for the one with the smallest footprint there. Okay, so it's going to be running this way. So there's base number 2. That's out of the way. Now let's try our last base here. This one's going to be somewhere in between. Let's go back to our thicker bulletin board cork. Sometimes I just start breaking it and see what happens. Is that interesting? Maybe, maybe not. I won't know. So I try to stick it on the base. Okay, that's not too bad. Well, one of my sculpey pieces cover that. It sort of kind of does. Again, a couple ways I can do this. I can just snip it away here. As you do. And then I'm going to get rid of some of these. Look at this. All I'm doing is just taking that sculpey and just rocking it back and forth. I'm not cutting anything. I mean, you could say there's no pressure on the actual knife. It's just me moving the sculpey and kind of tearing away at it in places. And then let's orientate this back to where it needs to be. I think it goes that way. Do I want to tear that off? I'm just going to see how it fits on the base here again. Nope, that should be okay. And I will just throw a hint of that there so I can use a little less of the super glue. Just a dot or two, because that APS glue, that's going to expand. Away we go. Some glue here for the top piece. And there you have it. And like I say, some of the stuff like this, the books and everything, on just your generic trooper types, do you really want to expend that resource there? Probably not. So it should just sit up on top of here. Got to find a... I'm thinking we'll put it this way because, see, there's this open area down here. Why is that? Because I was thinking maybe one of these demon heads here or an orc skull. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip out one of these demon head skull things, whatever. Is it going to fit there? Sort of. That's kind of forcing it right there. I would have to carve that out some more. We also have, again, a couple of different types of skulls here. So let's just maybe do a collection of regular old skulls centered around... Well, actually, these kind of have a little bit of a demon look to them. Right here, these guys. And as always, I've got myself some kind of a sanding stick nearby. And when you get these little packs, they come with several different types. I mean, each one of these different colors has a different grit, and sometimes each one has 2 different grits on it. So this one is basically sort of a medium grit, not too heavy. Won't slice this up too much. Gonna grab some of my paste here. Gonna put that in place. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit more up here too. Yeah, let's do that. It's all about concealing that line. With that in place, throw a little touch of our glue here. And let's get Mr. Demon Skull in here. Like so. Yeah, that's a much better fit. I think anything else, that other one, it would have been fun, but it was just hanging off the edge so much. It just sometimes too much is too much. throw this one in over there. And now we've got this sort of broken skull here, and that could be our third one. It'll be 3 different sizes / types of skulls. Once again, a hint of the glue right here. Let's get this little guy in place. He goes over there. Yeah, that's a nice little touch, especially if you've got this happening here. So it just, like I said, gives it a little bit of interesting flavor. Is it earth-shattering? No, it's a couple of skulls. Does it add some more interest to it? Well, yeah, it does. Because I know there's the mindset that, oh, look, more skulls on a base. How original, whatever. Well, okay. If we had, I was tempted to actually grab some of my old orcs and sort of put some orc heads on the bases. You might see that. I don't know. Or some of the old orc weapons, since they haven't made a new kit in 50 years for the orcs. Might still do that. Again, it's a story where it's kind of a long story. We'll tell you that maybe during the painting phase, I think. But the story of this army and why the whole Celtic theme and everything else. But all right, that one's good to go. And I'm just going to go back to that first one because that is now dry. Do the same thing here to just cover up that edge. Got my water over here. Like you do. Don't want to snap that skull off of the base just yet. See, that's a nice little gap there that needed to be filled. You could use any of the paste. You could use the red oxide paste. You could use I think it's called brown earth or something like that. This is called earth texture. There's the sandy paste. Each one, in theory, you use it for a different thing. Like the sandy paste has a finer grit to it. There's even one it's like I think it's called lava paste or something like that. Actually, I think when I ordered this, that's what I thought I was getting, and I think they just sent me the wrong one. But there you go. There's your 3 bases. Regular sisters, but we still gave them a little flavor, right? They've got some kind of a burning thing on there. They've got little skulls. There's something on there that's more than just the sculpey and the cork. So what we're going to do next is we're going to move on to something a little bit more elaborate here. So we'll try things like maybe this. Actually, no. We'll go on to this. We'll try these right here because we want to give these a little bit more of a flavor to their bases. So we'll get to these gals next. We're going to move into some characters now. We want to give them just something that has a little more interest to it. And that means I always think multi-level bases. Now I'm going to start out here. Sometimes, again, I just break this, and sometimes I see where does it guide me, or does it not guide me anywhere at all? I sort of see how that's like a natural little rise. Let's see if we can't take advantage of that, or just create something like that. Okay, so here we have, again, another that's sort of a natural rock, right? And it just sort of leads you up into the rest of the base. So does the rest of this. So that's not a bad start there. Of course, we just plop this on here. We could do that, but I wanted to have more happening there. So what I'm going to do here is actually Look at that. Look at that nice formation right there. I'm going to break some more of this. And my hope is, oh boy, again, another fantastic natural sort of rock formation. This is what I was after. So you can see what I'm trying. I think you can see what I'm trying to get at here. So this sort of leads you up in here. Maybe there's just, again, that's where one of these big, where's that bigger demon skull at? This is somewhere. I'm just going to cut out a new one. I'm not even going to bother looking around for that old one. This might just be large enough. This little gap in here. Set this up right. Now, it's going to set up nice and natural right in there. And I think, yeah, these relatively, they line up reasonably well. Let's start gluing some stuff here. And, you know, just combine this with some of that Luke's APS. Not much, literally just a drop of it. That's it. We'll get you on the base. While that dries, let's see if we can't get rid of mold lines. So there's the filing method, and then there's the scraping method. I used to pretty much do everything with the scraping method, but then once I found these guys, I started doing more of the filing again. Because the metal files like this with plastic, not so much. But with these, since you can see that's a heavier texture, this is a lighter grit. It's a finer grit. It's not going to chew it up quite so much. And you can go way finer than that, too. I mean, this is just me being pretty, oh, what would you say, pretty rough with this, not being super careful. All right. So now, let's make sure we're... So this is the other thing I could do. I could actually do something like this. I sort of like this better. Wow, I just happened to put that on backwards accidentally. Or, yeah, oh, okay, yeah. I think it can go basically there. And she can stand up there. And perhaps even a couple of our books or something like that along the way. So I'm gonna... That wasn't the original intention. My original intention, as you saw, was more like this. Or do I still prefer that? Now, doing it this way, let's just talk this over here. I get more room for sculpey. If I do it the other way, less room for sculpey. I haven't glued anything yet. We can try this a couple of times. But there is something interesting, something intriguing about this. Like it's like how she climbed up there or something. Instead of like this shelf, like did she just leap onto that, or is she about to leap off of that? What's the deal with that? So we'll go this way. Always got to be willing to make those changes. There we go. And now he's gonna go right there. Pop a little bit of our glue there, and hopefully that will be enough. We'll let that have a chance to sit there. Now we've got to figure out what are we doing sculpey wise here. What are we doing with our sculpey? It's gonna break off a piece here and gonna start snipping off some chunks. I'm gonna do this and see how that fits on there. Turn it upside down. Go after a few little edges. All right. I've got a chunk that can kind of sit down. Oh, look at that. That's kind of nice. That could be interesting. Here, let's get you out of the way and let's do some weathering on this. So see, this is another way we can do it. Look, I'm just kind of pulling away some of that sculpey. Breaking up that edge. Nice and easy, nice and safe. I'm thinking I'm gonna take a little bit more out of the center of this though. First of all, yeah, this is something I haven't shown in a while. Now there's several different types of tools that one could use for this. Now I've got some of my scoring tools here. This one is one that I love. And I know I'd have to, I think, reset my focus here. I'll show you what we're doing. See what we've done there. Also remember these little gougers like this. And I could also gouge, almost like it's been blasted away. So it kind of gives maybe a reason for why you've got all of this broken marble and such here. All right, so, and it also, again, there's a little bit more of a space for something like those horns that he's got. Let's glue that in place. There. Good to go. And now let's snip off some more of this, make that a broken piece. That's going to be pretty nifty right over there. Get you in right there. Maybe even another little chunk further down like this. Like it literally has just kind of broken away. That edge is a little bit too fine. That's better. I just had to snip away some of it. Maybe even one more piece here. I'm going to give that a little more of the glue. This is why I like the thin glue, because see how it kind of seeps inside there? Just going to use, hopefully this is going to work the way I would like it to. I'd like it to stay this way. Actually, that it's not too bad either. Oh, yeah, actually, I don't mind that so much. I'm going to throw another little drop of glue in there. Okay, so that's pretty fun. I can use the oxide paste, whatever paste. I'm just instinctively calling it oxide paste. So I apologize if that doesn't make as much sense to some folks when the bottle does not say oxide paste. So there's a fun base. I know it's tall. Yes, it's tall. I don't care about line of sight and all that other sort of stuff because, well, I just don't play 40K anymore and have no intention of doing so. It's been many, many a year since I last played 40K. Let's get one of these books here because I think that could be fun. Here, let's grab one of these. Now, I can use razor saw. This is where they're actually, I find my razor saw is almost as handy for cutting these resin stuff off of these crazy massive vents and gates as it is for cutting miniatures off of bases. Now, I'm thinking this book here is going to be just too freaking huge to also fit with our character there. So that's why I'm going with that smaller one right there. Yep, I'm going to do that. Okay, get that smoothed down and get that glued in place. Make sure there's enough room for her, and there is. Okay, so we'll just, you know the deal with the oxide paste. I don't think you need to see that anymore. But that'll be, I think, the tallest base. I don't think we're going to do one quite so tall for this one here. But I also see this kind of here. Just take enough of that away. So she's kind of on some bricks and rocks there, or broken stone bits. I'm just going to cut some of this away. You've seen this before. Certainly want to get that rounded edge away. That's the edge basically that the extruder kind of threw at me. Cut away some here. And if this is something that doesn't really appeal to me, and it doesn't look quite so commanding, it just sort of looks like a regular base at this point. I would like it to have something more, like something like more like a stair step kind of a thing. I'd really like to do that. So that is why I'm going to, where is my X-Acto and ore? I don't like to do this, but it's one way to get a perfectly straight line and a nice crisp edge. Okay. Because I would like to actually have a couple of layers here, like a kind of a stairwell or whatever. I think you've seen me do this before on other bases. Is it going to work? I don't know. I could orient it this way or have it go this way. So I'm going to use my saw again just to try and get that as sharp as I can, smooth. That's what I was hoping to do. So now it looks a little bit more like stairs. Now, the next question is it big enough to support that? It is big enough to support that footprint. That's good. And let me see. I'm just going to shave down some of my sculpey on the other side here to get this to be a little bit more level. Just bear with me on that. Good to go now. Same thing on the other side. Just cutting down some raised parts here. And what I'll do is I'll just glue these two together. And remember with Sculpey, when you glue Sculpey to Sculpey with the super glue, I mean, it really just does, I mean, it adheres like crazy. Okay. And then I'm just going to go in here and break off some of these top chunks. This is something that I did with one of the dark sword bases, and that really did work out nicely. Here, so we're just going to get these two to play along pretty nice here. And then with a little bit of the oxide slash paste, whatever, texture paste, we'll break some of that away. So now it looks a little bit more like an actual structure there. And maybe not every skull is on fire. Got one of our chaosy type skulls there. I think we're going to grab one or two of our skulls on fire, because I think that would still be fun. At least one. Yeah, let's grab one more. File this down. And we'll make sure we've got the bottoms of these guys flat, our two burning skulls here. And as always, I can still use this, file these guys down, because the flatter they are, they're just going to stay on there a whole lot easier. So a little touch of my Luke's glue there. It really does just take a dot, because it's going to be squirting all over the place outside the bottom otherwise. All right, so that's going to cover the full length of our base. It gives her a decent footprint right there. And I'm thinking this side is where we want our little skulls to be, with the last of the glue here. Again, I'll make sure I've got the mold lines on that. So there's one. Let's see if I can just get enough glue out of this here for our other two skulls. I'm thinking maybe it could be fun to have multiple light sources on this one. So either one over here or one up here. I'm going to go one over here. Yeah, it's just going to go over there in that corner. Okay, so there we go. Some skulls. And then let's maybe... I have some bricks that are already kind of cut out, but I'm going to see if I can't just make some here. And by bricks, I mean taking that thin Sculpey sheet, cut something out of that that's vaguely brick-sized. We have a couple of bricks right here. Give some of these edges, make those a little bit broken. And I'm just gonna chuck a small dot of glue there. And we'll put some of our extra bricks in here. Maybe just a touch more. Yeah, you can see I'm just using my fingernail. That's how soft the Sculpey can be. Soft enough to quite literally break it and carve it with your fingernail. Okay. I want one more impression of a broken brick here. Here, let's make one more. Again, cut some of it away, make it look like it's broken. So now that little pile of rubble looks more like a pile of rubble. We've kind of integrated it sort of with the rest here. There we go. All right. That works out well. So now we've got our characters here. We've got, and I can chip away more at that bit, but now it looks like we got something that's multi-level there, like some steps. Not too high for her to walk up, maybe not too low. So what we'll do now is we're going to get to a couple of the Repentia. No, actually, we're going to do the Seraphim next. We'll see if we can make some flying bases. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to try and make a flying base, and then I think after that, that's when we're going to try and integrate some of these guys with maybe the Repentia and one of our Seraphim too. So we'll be right back with that next. Let's get to some of our Seraphim here. What I also want to do is try and create some broken wall style bases. Now what I'm thinking of doing is having walls that are leaning. So I've got to do, I can just do something like this. So let's see how we want to do this. Trying to actually break this so that I could maybe get multiple things out of it. So here, let's break it. No, that didn't quite work the way I wanted it to. I'm going to do something like this. Let's get this off of here. Just going to score this. Makes it a little bit easier to break. And I think you can see the idea is to just literally have it leaping off of the wall like this. However, don't want there to be too much wall. And I have to also see, do I want it to be an angle like this where it's literally straight up like this and she's leaping off of it? That is what I was thinking of doing with this shorter one right here. Now I also going to break this, break that off a little bit. I need this to be one of our straight lines again. Well, it's going to be straight on an angle. How does that sound? So again, I'm going to use my razor saw. Ideally, I really wouldn't want to use it this way, but okay. Snap that off. And now I've got myself a wall that can stand there. I had thought about doing something like this maybe, like an interior wall that she's leaping out of, but I thought, no, maybe that's not going to make a whole lot of sense. I am going to have this, I'm just going to shave it down a little bit here. Just a bit more. And I'm just going to go with sculpey right on the base here, because sculpey to sculpey is a good thing. Always a good thing. That just makes a really nice, solid, rock-solid connection. So something like that, and then she's just literally leaping off of the top of this wall here, with the idea that maybe the wall has some kind of a mural on it. Here, let's maybe break away some more of that. Break away some more of this. Or actually, I kind of like it this way better. There we go. Yeah, I sort of like that direction better. And look at this. Almost like there's some plaster on here. Look what we're doing. Now, yeah, if we wanted to be more safe about it, we just do something like this. Cut some of that away. And then on the outside of this, we can do this one here. I'm going to turn off the lights from one side, and hopefully that makes it easier for you to see what's happening here. So I'm just taking this, kind of use it almost like it's a bit of a drill here. And I think you see what that's simulating there. Yeah, let's, I think if I turn off enough of those, now remember that little tool for scoring here. What am I doing? Making myself a, look at that. Oh yeah, you can see it. So I'm gonna have to turn all these lights back on in a second here, I think, but yeah, now that that's starting to look like little shell holes in that wall. There. So it's a little more interesting now. Break some more of this away. Do it on this side too. Get this piece attached straight away. And as that has a little chance to dry in place, I'm going to try to file this down a bit. Yeah. Do something like that. And again, I'll have her just kind of leaping off the top of that. So all I'd have to do is essentially just put a little bit of a pin in there. Now it's actually still, it's leaning forward a little bit more than I actually would rather have it leaning backwards. And you know what? I'm just going to do that here. So I'm going to actually cut away at this a little bit so that it has a backwards lean. All right. I think that is enough. However, yes. Yeah. You'll see what's the deal here in just a second. And I glue that in place. So there's a little bit of an angle, and I can get some rubble around the bottom of that. We've got tons of stuff here that we can use as rubble. I can just start breaking this up any old way, like so. And then I'll just start to get these in place. So let's start to build up some rubble around the bed. It's also going to make that stronger. Got some decent pieces of shards of broken wall there. I'll do that on this side too. All of this leftover stuff. I mean, it doesn't take much to all of a sudden have it look like bits and chunks of broken wall. It starts to support what's there. Okay. Now there's about one more chunk right in there. Couple little pieces there can't hurt. Let's get back to our other side here. Some more rubble on this side. Again, I'm just going to break some more pieces like this. Here we go. Just keep breaking these pieces off. Give them sharp edges like they've, again, been broken. No round edges. Okay. So we could use sand and rocks there too, but we got all this broken sculpey, which looks like, well, this wall just broken because we sort of broke all these pieces off. I mean, what's like, what is that? Nothing replicates nature better than nature. Well, nothing replicates broken sculpey better than broken sculpey. So there you have it. Now we can still do some kind of skull or whatever thing, but this is definitely going to, I'm going to say, go right about here. So I'm going to do a little bit of a drill action here and try and find the thickest part of the foot here, as thick as I can get. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. So she's literally going to be leaping over that diorama essentially, or whatever. Also thinking about having that over there. Yeah. So while I'm waiting for some of that glue to dry, we're going to hit this again the same way like we did our other one here. Might throw a... No, I won't go. I'm not going to do the object source lighting thing on this because I would like to have the mural do the talking. And it could be a simple thing, just a mural of a sister's face or something like that. It might be more like that other base that you saw in the opening little introduction. So I'm gonna chuck that right over here, and hopefully that stays there. Just gonna grab a little bit of that glue there. You know what? I'm gonna actually get some more broken sculpey pieces and throw those underneath this. So just bear with me here while I do that. Because that sculpt needs a little more support underneath there. That's a little bit tenuous. Get just, again, a little more glue there. And this is a little tough to see with all of this white sculpey. That's better. Okay, that's more like it. So in that hole there, what will we do? We take our, let's grab some of our paper clips. We'll snip off a little piece of this here. And that would go there. And then we have to determine just where do we want this to be. And I'm thinking maybe here. Sculpey is really easy to drill into. So I had to be careful. I don't want this coming out the other side. And okay, our little pin fell out because I didn't really want to glue it in there. Now this is not going to stay in place here because I obviously want to paint it and everything. Here, let's just see if we can... Nope, that's just not going to stay there. But I think you get the idea. That's where that's going to go. So that's going to be a very fun base to paint. Now the other type of base that I was thinking about and considering was something like this, where we use this guy and we have our sister look like she's basically leaping off of this statue piece here, or these columns. Which of these, I'm just trying to think, which one looks more appropriate? Is it the columns? See it like right there. I'm just thinking about it because it is such a nice size for this base. What about this one? Again, I'm going to just give it a shot. It's the way it's shaped. That doesn't necessarily do it for me. The problem is, though, that would want to have like some ground around it. It's like, why would it be broken in half like that, sitting delicately on marble? So maybe we don't use that. Not what the heck. Let's just give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. So I'm gonna take a chunk of my sculpey over here. Gonna break it here real quick. Take our little knife here and bust up the edge some. Make sure that's not too flat and square. Let's glue that where it belongs. Let's sit there. And now here you can see that it's a little bit concave there. I can do a couple things. I can just quickly trim that down with the X-Acto knife, or I could just file it away. I'm going to probably just do both here. So that's pretty much most of it, and then we'll just finish it off here like so. That is going to make a nice little, and there we'll have him get pushed back a little bit so that when she's, actually I was thinking maybe this one. No, we'll just do this one right here. Yep, that's going to be the one. So let's glue him in place. Make sure he's standing back a little bit here. And then, as that is going to give us a few seconds to dry, we'll take our pin vise again, and we'll see what we can do here as far as, again, drilling a hole without drilling that hole too far. This one I'm going to try and stick onto that, onto the head there, because I think we can get that stuff painted with her on it. Now, some of these bases too, we might just be painting these during some of the regular part of it, maybe in episode 3 and 4 and stuff. So, and we'll try and pick one. I think we'll do a color test figure that has some of the object source lighting in it too. And I'm thinking I want to have a couple of those flaming skulls down here, because that could be a really fun look. So, okay. Now I've got to figure out exactly where is that going to go here. Whoops, that was the wrong. That is not the right one. Sorry about that. That was not the correct one. Let's get the right one here. Now, if you're looking to maybe figure out, well, where should I drill a hole on the statue piece, this is something that has sort of worked for me. I'm just going to grab any old light pink color here, so that's pure. It's just a white. Okay, good enough. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Hopefully this is one of those times where it works. And we're going to take some of our paint here. Going to throw it where our pin's supposed to go. And then we'll stick our figure on here. Like I said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's what it's showing me right there. Now, let's try and drill this. Got to start delicate here, because I don't want that drill bit to slide off or snap, neither of which are good things. We're just drilling into our resin here. Again, that's the Green Stuff World piece. So if I didn't really want this super Celtic theme here, I probably wouldn't have done this style base, but I don't know, there's just something about it that I thought could be very fun. Okay, we'll get some glue in there. And then while that sets as best as possible, I'm going to try and find myself a couple of these little glowy skulls to have at the base of this. Usual routine, we're going to shave off the little gates here at the bottom. Same on this guy. File those down a little bit, make them flatter so that they just sit there nice and easy. And let's see if we can position these in a way that looks good. Going to give us some good lighting opportunities. Right there. Hopefully, again, put some light on the, like the face has a whole bunch of lights and shadows and such. I'm also going to do some, I'm going to let that continue. That glue to continue to dry, and meanwhile, let's make ourselves, just literally making some sculpey rubble here. Just chopping this stuff up. For back here. Actually, nope. I'm going to use the super glue because I really do want it to dry faster with what I've got to do over here. Okay. I can actually use a little bit of the rounded piece there. So see, now it's, to me, it's going to look like it's more part of all this. Instead of just, oh, look, someone just glued a statue head or a piece of a statue head to a flat little sculpey base. And it's not like that's horrible, but it's not super interesting. Actually, that's not super interesting there either. That's a little more interesting. I need some smaller chunks here. See if I can throw in a few of these. Where they're going to be interesting. What I have been noticing is with the tweezers, every time I try and use them, there's always enough glue on there from something else to really make things painful. It's kind of been universal. Here, I'm going to get a little bit of that on that side. So if you see me not using the tweezers all the time, to me, they pretty much just get in my way. most of the time. It's really more actually for you guys that I use the tweezers. Me, as far as I'm concerned, they're just more of a pain than anything else. All right. I'm going to see if I can't make that hole even deeper. And when you hear you can hear sometimes the pin vise start to stick. You don't want to go much past that because that means your drill bit is going to break. And you really don't want broken drill bits. All right, so I need to change the angle on this a little bit here, which I think means actually carving away a little bit of this. And I'm thinking that modification might help. Nope. I need to do this. I'm actually going to bend that pin. Sometimes that's all it takes. Okay. So now I'm going to get some glue into here. And I may have to blue tack that to keep it from spinning as it dries. But I'll just hold it here for a few seconds. Hopefully it stays there long enough. There. I think you can see what the deal is now. She's just kind of leaping off his head. And oh, look, we're going to get some nice light right there on the underside of that leg. Maybe even onto the her pistols here, her bolt pistols. So that's going to be fun. What we'll do now is we're going to try a couple of those, the Repentia and some other, maybe some specialty bases here, because we want to make sure we have enough time for painting bases, and we'll get to that next. Okay, so I thought we would get to a couple of our Repentia here, and then this one that was climbing, see what we can do with that. Now, a couple of things that I was just kind of thought about doing here. There's the idea of just taking something simple like this, put that there, and really have her running on that. So we'll try that. But just to maybe continue that broken wall theme, let's see if we can do something like this. And no, that's just going to be too, yeah, it's going to be too extreme of an angle, unfortunately. So what I will do here, I think, I'll grab some of this somewhat thicker material. So I don't want everything to necessarily be on a sculpey base, but remember, there's also that. So we could have her just kind of leaping off that big chunk of rock too. Now let's do some carving on this. Again, I can, if you're nervous, you can just do it right here on your cutting block. But I like this little stair step right here. Yeah, so the idea is I'm going to have this look more like a blasted material. So where is this guy? And again, look at what's happening here. See how that kind of creates almost a spider crack there. Now I've got a magnifier light in between me and all that flying debris, so that's why I don't really have to worry about that. Okay, that's a nice little piece. Boom, there you go. And I can just pin her and she sticks right there. So I've actually got a hole drilled in that already. So why don't we do something like this, and then we'll let that dry for a second while we screw around with another one. Now there was this piece here. Where's my other little base here? My 28 mil. Well, it does fit on there. Now what I'd have to do is actually kind of chop her off of this thing. And what the heck? Let's do that. I mean, we're supposed to be having some fun here. First things first, we are going to make sure that is level as possible without that concave. You can see the different color there. All right, we'll just get this glued down real quick here. And now, slicing away some of this. Again, this is where the jeweler's block comes in really handy. And look at that. Just snip that piece away. And now it's mostly just like it's her foot there. And I've still got some of that hole that I drilled in here. Okay. Gonna throw a pin into that too. And while that one dries, a little more of our glue into that. So while this one dries, let's see what we can do with our other one. Okay, you sit over there. Get this one straightened out here. Sometimes the hole doesn't always get drilled exactly in the direction it should be, or the angle, I should say. Okay, pardon my big ugly wrist there. Okay, we got our hole drilled. And there it is. A little touch of glue on that. Kaboom. How hard was that? Not hard at all. Do we want to do another little flaming skull thing on that? Why not? Let's just do it. Sorry guys, I love object source lighting, and my sister's my lighting scheme. I would, however, like to have a couple of other skulls there. Maybe instead of running on hot coals, she's running on hot skulls. That's a little too close. How's about down there? That's better. I might even throw a couple of little sculpey chunks here. Yeah, where's my dreaded tweezers? Get one of these pieces back over here. Again, just making it look as broken up as possible here. But not just that one skull. Let's oh, what the heck? Let's see what happens with now let's give it another one of these human skulls here. This one's got a little bit of a jaw on it, and that might you'll see it in a second here. So I'm just going to file off the mold lines again. Now I could have just taken these skulls and used my Liquitex heavy gel and basically create fire. Quite literally, have some fire coming off of them. So again, flamey skull, just gonna light that up, and while that let's see where this can be leaping away here. I'm thinking maybe the forehead right here. So I'm going to just start drilling a hole right there. Hopefully that works out. Again, I'm doing this off to, looks like you can sort of see that hole being drilled in there. Okay, almost ready. And how does that work? Boom. Works just fine. Get that. Yeah. So this one now kind of goes better with this. It's starting to tie everything together. We're tying the different unit types together in the army as a whole. Sorry, my voice is doing that thing again. Now here, I want to have this figure look like she's kind of walking up this wall here, walking up like a stair type of thing. I've got something that's relatively flat here. So almost something basically like that is what I'm thinking about. Something like that, maybe. Okay. That's how I'm going to approach it here. So once again, going to look to create as straight of an edge as I can in one place. Now my sculpey sheet here. And yes, it should break that easily. That's the sound you want to hear when your sculpey is breaking. I see I still have to put a backpack on her, a power pack. Okay. Little glue there. Boom. And let's make sure that's gonna give me just enough. All right, let me mark this very quickly here. There you go. And we'll have to pin her too, but I think you can see what's happened. She's just kind of climbing right up that base there. And we're going to snip this away. Cut that down. And let me see what I can do. I want to get an orc. We don't have any orc skulls on here yet, so let's get one. Let's file some of these mold lines away. Like you do. Yep, good enough. It's simple. But remember, we got all that. We have all those designs that are going to go on there. So boom, right there. Good enough. And we can just drill ourselves a little hole in the foot. Now, I'm not going to glue this in because actually the glue, and then it's going to end up sticking it to the base. Because remember, Sculpey really likes super glue. So, okay, there's that one is all set. Now this one here, it's had a little chance to dry. Why don't we chuck in a little bit of our paste there. Get that one finished off. Like I said, I could throw. I'm not gonna throw skulls on that. We got a statue face on there. Why do we also need skulls on that? So just gonna get myself a little bit of my material here. 1 second there. Just fill that edge in real nice. Starts to look like it's actually been there for a while instead of just sort of floating out in space. Back here. There we go. So that takes care of the statue head, and we have enough to finish off this one right here. I realize that's black on white, but I think you get the point of what's happening here. That one's good to go. And this one here, it needs a little bit of an edge covering there. There's a little too much edge showing on that. And that's going to mask the fact that we have melded two pieces of sculpey together. There we go. So we've got her climbing up her step. That wasn't terribly hard to make a little step out of that. It also matches the base of our Sister Superior or Sergeant or whatever the heck she is. Canoness, I don't know. I think Canoness is probably, might just be this one right here. It's been a while, guys, so you'll just have to forgive me on that. And one last little bit here. Fills that in. So we've got our climbing base. Well, climbing up a stair anyway. Now we've got our Repentia good to go. So I'm going to try and do is one last sort of snazzola base here, and then we'll get on to our painting. Let's see if we can't make one more base for our standard bearer here. Now this is one of those scrap pieces that I really loved. Look at that fantastic texture there. I really want to take advantage of that. I'm going to just glue this to the base right now because I don't know. There's something about that texture that looks really fantastic. And it does relatively fit that footprint. Now I would like to get my sculpey here, but yeah, I'm going to use this piece right here and start cutting away here. Or we'll just break it with our hands in some spots and chip away a bit more. Now, to have it just hanging over like this, well, that kind of spoils the whole reason for that to be there. So, I'll cut away some more here. That's closer. I'm gonna just hack away some more. If it ends up being too much, well, no problem. And just get some more. We have more sculpey. Now that starts to work out a little better, there's a decent footprint going there. We will get some glue on this. Like we do. Now, if she's over there, that could potentially leave me room for some sort of artifact over here. I'm thinking maybe We've got some of these books over here. I'm just going to see if I can't get one of these off the sprue real quick. Here, let's file this down. Like so. That's a little on the top heavy side, so she doesn't necessarily just want to stick there. But I also have some of these open books here. And I want to see. Here, where's my. Just looking for my razor saw. Cut a couple of these off of here. There we go. Now that's gonna be a little bit. Oh, see that? Ooh, that's got potential. Like that. And then she goes here. Okay, so let's get some glue on that book. And then let's do a little glue this way. Yeah, okay. That's fun. And I'm thinking maybe some more of my flamey skulls here. Because I want it that way. Or, we already have done 2 of these. So I'm going to try some skulls around the book first. So let's not have that roll away completely. Here's another one of those. Sure. Actually, it could be almost interesting to have a candle coming out of that scope. Let's just file these down. I don't want this to be super long here. I wanted to show that it's possible to do some interesting things on a base. Keep it relatively simple, but still make it look worthy of a character style base. Just going to get the last of the mold lines off of these, and we'll see if we can arrange these around the books and such to make that interesting. Now, the idea is, that's what I was hoping. Oh, yeah, okay, that's good. I think you'll see what I'm up to here. So that's going to go here. And let's see if we can actually use these tweezers, or they just, nope. The heck with the tweezers, I'm just doing it myself. I want to make sure I've got enough room for feet if I'm going to do this other skull here. This one I might just see if the tweezers will work. I don't know if I won't want the skull pointing that way. But I would like it to be part of this little book pile right here. That one doesn't seem to want to work there. I'm going to grab one that's a little shorter here. That's this one. There we go. See, now we're getting a little nice little setup here with our books. I'm going to cut away a little bit of this stuff on the bottom of the skull here, the flaming skull. Gonna grab a little bit of my, where is my paste? I'm thinking, yeah, I'll throw some of that there. Here, let's get a little bit of that going. That way we can sort of set the skull into it. It'll be a little more stable. That can even go up that little ridge line. Fills that in nice or nicely. Okay. Let's see if we can drop that one right there. And then we've got this other one here. Yeah, that one didn't want to go where I wanted it to go. It's a common thing with basing, and it's not like you haven't seen that happen before. Now, I want an uneven number of skull. That's not good. And I want to see where this also hits, where she is standing here. I think I'm going to throw this other one, which I'm going to have to now cut off the stuff on the bottom of it here real quick. And I'm going to also file some of that. Which way does it go? Or which side of this other skull does it go on? Does it go there? That doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense. What about down here? It's really... Okay, so that other one doesn't want to stay there either. Ah, okay. I think I can get this one to stay there. The other one, I'm not even sure I want to bother. Sometimes the level of aggravation is just too much. And I don't even know if I want it positioned right there. Gonna use my file, get some of this paste and gunk off of it. That's better. Okay. And at this point, all I need to do is get the paste around the outside of that. We've got ourselves... I'm going to cut one of my pins here real quick if I can. Okay, where should that hold? I want to make sure that there's also enough structure holding that up. Okay, I'm going to drill that right here. Again, pardon my big old wrist, back of the hand in the way. Pin. Okay, not gluing that in. I just want to see if it's in the right spot. There we go. There's a nice little base for that one. So I think we're all good there. Yeah, that's going to work out just fine. Okay. Now here's another case where I see a mold line. Sometimes they don't show up till you put the primer on there. Now these bases, I'm going to let these dry. I'm also going to just brush on the primer. I'm not going to do any of the airbrush stuff. Just going to brush on primer here. Because it's been a while since I've done that. I just wanted you to see that there's really no difference between brushing on the Stynylrez res and airbrushing on the Stynylrez res. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do that step next. Yeah, it's a nice little base right there. I just brushed down some of the stone res here, and this is the ebony flesh color. It's one of my favorites because it still has a color to it. It's not too dark, it's not super light. Nice little in-between sort of thing. And I hit all of the bases with this. Again, it doesn't matter if it covers perfectly. It's primer. We're going to paint over it. Now you see there's some other designs up there. I like to incorporate some of those because we did in our test one, we already did our that kind of knotwork type thing. What we want to do is use some of the pro acryls here. We have one of the transparent paints out here. I might grab the transparent brown too because, well, I think that could be really, really, really handy. We've got a green, a bright ivory, and we've got this dark blue here to darken our green with and mix with the brown to make sort of a even darker brown. And there we go. And I don't use the dark neutral gray very often, so I thought I'd throw that one out there as well. Now again, it's going to be each one of these we want to do something different. This one I had thoughts of doing one of those circular type of designs like you see in the upper image there. This one I thought of maybe something that's more like along the lines of knotwork that sort of follows along this. And I got this one here too that, well, maybe some more of the knotwork and also some, basically some scroll work, some dialogue essentially. That's kind of what I was thinking about there. So what we'll do, we are just gonna try and match this green on our marble. And again, you can see we've got that sort of circular design there. That's a nice little theme that I would like to continue. So we're going to put that over there. Just got this is actually the same brush that I used. I didn't even bother cleaning out with rubbing alcohol. It's the same brush we were using for that black paste. So let's grab some of the neutral gray, throw a little brown in there. And we're just going to start to work this into our sides of our base here. We also have our fluorescent lighting that's going to happen here too. So we've got, as you can see, fluorescent orange is out on the palette. Get a little more of this. Not quite so necessary on this one, but you can see how that paste really helped to hide the seams as they are. And remember, I'm going to just do a separate video. Actually, I've got a couple of the mural style bases, and I thought I would just do some of those. Could just be in, like I said, a separate video. Some of the other bases, like the ones that have the statues on them, but we'll just paint that. Just paint that up. Well, actually, you know what? While I'm thinking about it, well, I've got this color. I'm just going to hit this too. I'll just hit that up too. Why not? It's all about maximizing the effort. So let's maximize the effort. And now you know why I'm using that same really abused brush for this, because, well, we're abusing it some more. We're really beating the heck out of it. There we go. Who knows? Maybe we'll keep this one over here. We might throw some lighter colors on that one too. Now, let's get one that's a little less destroyed. Let's start to plan some things out here. So we want to do more of a circular design on this. I'm going to say this way here because you can see actually where the feet are marked there. And with this is all going to be an orange glow right here too. So that is what we're going to just start to plot out here in a very rough way. How much is that going to influence our base? Okay. It's a little friendly reminder. This one, don't have to worry about it. This one, we've got a couple of zones that we have to keep in mind here. So let's just do that. And right now, it's that same idea of don't paint a bunch of stuff that you really didn't have to paint because it's going to be covered up by object source lighting. And there will be a lot of it on this video, I have to say. There's going to be plenty of object source lighting here because it was on my original sisters, and I wanted to essentially get those back for quite a while now. I had to sell those off just for reasons, and it's just nice to think about having those back again. Now, I hear there's not going to be a whole lot going on. Again, because of, well, glowy things. And remember, the Pro Acryl, even the yellow, is going to be really opaque. I might even have to turn my brightness down a bit on the camera here just to compensate for that. So I'll do that in just a second. So while that dries, and you can see, well, actually you can't see, maybe I'll move them down, but the miniatures here, let me just get this here so I can see what we got going on. There's, all right, cut that down a bit. So as you can see, I've lined up the miniature to the bed. Wow, it's still not on camera. I'm not going to get them quite this close, but you can see how they line up. I've got, actually, so this is the palette off on the side over here. This is to my right-hand side instead of over here, because that's where the palette usually is. It's going to make, I think, the army painting stuff a whole lot easier because I think I'll have more room for things instead of having the palette sitting there. So that's an experiment we are going to try. Hopefully it works out as intended. Now, speaking of as intended, let us take some of this dark brown, pinch of yellow here. Okay, there's our sort of a neutral type of a color. And the plan was to do this. Like this. Okay. And you know what? Might even do that here. What the heck? What the heck? Let's play with it here. So over here, oh, let's get the heck. Let's get some on the other skull. And this area will be basically some kind of a green over here. Okay, there's that base. And here, I might do a similar thing. Again, I'll just hit the skull while I've got that color. Might even hit this while I have it. So we'll, again, you know what, actually, again, while I have the color, why not just do it? So this way we'll have a bit of a head start. Yeah, it's really not a dry brush, especially here since, well, the underlying color is still wet. So there'll actually be almost a little bit of wet into wet blending that's going on there. I'm even going to, here, I'm going to grab another brush very quickly. Let's get caught up on these things here. And they're going to have to to influence this. Remember how we thought this was really going to be fun? And there too. So you'll see me doing a lot of this. We'll just do a little preliminary. Look, this is going to be really fun, especially now. Oh, the other thing I did was, I know on the original army, the Seraphim are the only ones that had the gold armor. Actually, the rest of the troops had a green armor. I think the cloaks were sort of a white and green. I think this time around we're going with the everybody's got gold sort of deal. A little more of that yellow there. And then we'll just let that dry. Touch more of the orange in a few places. Again, we'll just set that aside now. We've got this to do, and remember we wanted to have one of our circle designs. It has to either be, we're talking about thirds here, we're not talking about half. So I think that's more like a 40% rather than a 0.33%. So I might have to just either make that bigger. So if I make it bigger, then now we have 1/3 left. And now we've got basically some kind of a circle set up there. Here, let's start to play around with some greens. Again, that's the green. We mix it with a touch of that blue, and then back to some green here. And we're going to try and work this wet into wet like we've done, especially say the dull emerald. That's why I was really hoping to do both of these series. I want to say together, but sort of piggyback one after the other, because you had a similar type of basing, yet an entirely different game system, entirely different requirements, different base sizes even to deal with, quite literally different footprints to deal with. All right, let's grab our lighter green here, and we're going to start to do some of that wet into wet. Also, just keeping in mind, look at that, see how they kind of blend together. It can be a little tight quarters sometimes. And remember, if it goes over into the tan/gray, whatever, not a horrible big deal. Not that much of a problem. We are going to take some of this green away, though, out of the brush. And then, oh, look at this. This is why I wanted the green out here, because, well, look at that. It's going to make that glow just show up a bit more than it otherwise might have. Now let's get a touch of our gray in here, make that a little more neutral. Utilizing the thumb palette, utilizing fingers for blending too. Because you can always do that. There's some of our darker veins in that marble. Okay. And if I don't like that gray there, which I'm not quite sure that I do, guess what I can do? Yeah, it would have been interesting to have that lighter color there, But between the skull and these other things that I want to be really light, that instantly changed the contrast right there. So to me, that is a big improvement straight away. Like I said, don't be afraid to make these kind of changes. Yes, you had your original plan, and it's not like the original plan was horrible. It's just, well, the first casualty in anything, any engagement is always the plan. So the plan is going to be, plan's most likely going to have to get altered in any case. Now let's do this with our marble as well. We don't want to go in the same direction, even though your mind kind of wants it to be that way. But I'm going to have the marble going in different directions here. Like here, it's going in the exact same direction. We don't really want that. So I got to change something. I'm going to change that here. So now we've got that marble pointed in a very different direction than this, which is essentially going to be going this way. And this is what, look at that. Our Swiss Army brush with our multi-edge design. Boy, you'd have to pay 27 cents to get something like that. We'll do that here. Again, making use of that thumb palette. Look at, see, we spread out that brush. Even though it's not oils, we can still sort of scumble it and do some fun things with that. Now, we can grab one of our liner brushes here and let's see what we can do to enhance some of these veins here. You could, for this first part here, you could also use the makeup sponges. You know what? Boy, it would have been fun to do it on these guys, but there's other things I'm going to be doing marble bases on. So maybe we'll experiment with that. Essentially just taking the sponges and just sponge, and then maybe do some of these veins over the top of the sponge, our sponge work, such as it is. Now we've got that's our pale light green. We start to mix it in to our other green. What happens? Now we start to really secure ourselves some light areas in the veins of marble here. Look at that. It's a gentle brush stroke there, not real heavy, not super heavy. Okay, let's go this way. Again, we're gonna just pull out some of these. You can see how we kind of, look at how we jiggle the brush around. We lift it up and down to increase or reduce the pressure on it. Okay. And you can see it does not have to take a long time. Now I can see we'll probably have to do a second segment on here again because I can only go so long before, for whatever reason, things go wonky. So we'll probably have sort of a final thoughts type of a thing here as we maybe finish off our bases. See, I'm getting a little bit lighter here. But with each permutation of getting lighter, I do less. I'm not going to follow every single one of these. I'm going to do less, like just that much. That's it. I'm going to go over to here. And again, just picking out a few places to hit with our lighter marble veins, and that is it. Not even over there. Nope, not even over there. I think this is our last one that we need to hit with this. Okay, that pretty much establishes where our marble is going to go. And now we've got to do, here, let's get something that resembles a gold color. So we're going to take a little touch of that brown. We'll mix it in with our orange and yellow. Now we're going to, there we go. Nice little border line here. And you notice how I let it, it's not going to be exactly the same yellow everywhere. Now we also need an interior to this. Like so. We're just going to get our nice little circular design work in there. Okay. We will do that here. Another nice little border right there. Also a nice way to basically clean up the lines between the two marble types. It continues the color that's in the miniatures as well. Or on the, yeah, on the miniatures. And what else happened? The synthetic brush, it holds its shape. I was doing this with that natural hair bristle. Now there's going to be the foot right there, but that's why we keep a nice consistent line there. So one of the last things I'll do here is we'll take some of our dark brown, get some of that paint out of there. And we'll even really firm up these two borders here. We're going to be doing some other, like we want to have one of those, one of our cross type things here, a Celtic cross. So let's just do something like this. We'll just keep it real simple, just an outline here. And like so. And then look at that, there's the interior of our Celtic cross, and we'll fill this in here. Also have to keep in mind, well, that pin is right there, so obviously somebody's foot is standing right on top of this. And there's going to be that cloak too. So all things to ponder and keep in mind. Okay, I think that's good enough there. What the heck, while I'm here, and this is, again, look at that. That's the benefit of the liner brush. See how that just holds its shape, doesn't deform. And you can see we can have, there's so much paint in there, you can just do a nice big arc. Nice big old arc. We're going to do a similar thing here. Okay. One last set of outlines here. And then from here, again, in our next step, what we're going to do some of the lighter parts here where a text is going to be. And play around a little bit with some of the lighting there. Again, it's not so much about the object source lighting, because remember we have a miniature that's got to be painted here. So that's going to be saved for that phase. I really just wanted to show some of the painting of the marble and some of the freehand designs on that before we get to the miniatures. So what we're going to do is fill in some of this stuff, and we'll do that next. So let's get to a little bit of that freehand that we talked about. First, though, I'm going to make a slightly lighter version of our gray. It's going to go here, like so. And you're also going to notice, I'm going to take a little bit of water here. And now all of a sudden it's not quite so opaque. It's not going to cover so much. So this area is going to be a little bit darker. That's kind of what I was hoping for. Okay. Here's the rest of our cross design here. So that's pretty well in place. Then here we've got ourselves, well, we have a skull also. Like I said, not quite so concerned about painting the skull. That's neither here nor there, but this part I think you'll want to see for sure. Again, we've got that foot that's going to go right here, so also got to think about the rest of the marble here. Okay, and last but not least, here we are. And you can see we're just not worried about it being 100% coverage here. Well, I'll even probably paint some staining on this as well. Okay, so that's about almost as light as I want it to be. I'll just get a little more here. Where are we at? Over here. And you'll see how this changes as it arcs over, as it starts to get a little bit darker. Then this cross design is going to start to get a little bit of shading as well. Again, I'm not going to be super worried about it because there is the foot that goes right there. And like that. Okay. Let's get these guys here. Get one last. And you're going to see these two actually be different, quite literally different tones, one right next to the other. So the idea is that there's a little separation between those two now. We're going to do a similar thing over here. Right there. Now we'll just hit these and our skull just a touch here. Again, it's really more about the freehand and the other thing. Now we're going to get some of our gold to work in here too. do a little bit of that here. Take some of that out of the brush, and just like we did, see there's two very distinct different bands of it, shall we say. And maybe I'll just actually have that. See how that sort of follows the lightness of the... Okay. I'm even going to throw some of the gold over here. All right, that's settled pretty well. We could just leave this as it is, or we could do some kind of text or something. So let's see what there's a couple of different ways we can do this. Here, let's do some sort of a... Do I want to do uncial typeface, or do I want to do something that's a little bit more straight up and down? Let's try something a bit more like this. There's your H. A little nice little E right here. Give that some nice little serifs. There we go. And let's have ourselves an S here. And you can see how some parts of the letter are thicker than the others. Generally, the vertical parts tend to be a little bit on the thicker side. And I'm just going to... I'm not even sure what this word is, but I'm just having the last part of the word. Usually something that ends in IS is typical. So again, quick little... It's not super taxing right there. You can do a different type of lettering here. Or we can just keep going with the same one. Again, give ourselves some serifs there. Again, just flip this upside down, and remember the vertical parts of your letter are going to get a bit of a little bit of thickness there. And let's go here. Again, some serifs on that. And turn it upside down. That's also another way to make sure that your letters are relatively straight. You could do some, you can mark things or whatever, but yeah, we can mark things, but we can also just, grab some paint here and change some things up, clean some things up. So either way, all up to you. And here we can either do some words there, or we could have some network, or both. Here, let's try something a little bit different here. Let's see if I've got myself a... Now let's just use this. Got our quadruple zero here. And we'll just start to write some things here. And now, since I want more letters and such here, I'm going to actually just write it out to start with. We're just kind of sketching this out here. And let's go, yeah, like so. You can see this is slightly different font here. To me, this always worked better inside these circles like this. Sometimes you got to tilt those letters over more or less, as the case may be. See if we can get ourselves another little H going there. All right, so what do? Now that we've got that sketched in place, we can start to do things like add some serifs, like you do. Alter some of the shape of the letters. There we are. Can straighten things out, and remember, I can still go back in there again. And clean stuff up, going with the lighter colors over the top of that. So here, now let's just do some of that cleanup stuff right here. Okay. Get that line, yeah, let's get a line sitting in there. Then we can think about, I don't know, maybe a little bit of some kind of knot work or whatever. Maybe actually we'll just go a little bit of green with that gold. And let's keep it somewhat simple here. So a bit of just something like this, a real simple pattern here. It's just a series of lines and X's. Very, very simple. Continue it out here. Like so. Another X after some lines. Sort of like that green. So maybe it's going to work its way into this design here too. Couple more. These. Here, let's just finish that off there. And then once that's in place, you can make these sort of artificially do it over and under, like that. It's very, so now we're getting more of that knotwork appearance relatively simply there. So over here, I see, I just don't really like how that worked out over here. So I'm going to alter its shape a little bit. Again, you can clean these things up as much as you want. Now you just have to think, how long is this taking? This is 3 bases. If it takes an hour just to do 3 bases, maybe you don't do the lettering on there. Maybe you just do the marble. But for me, that was kind of one of the whole reasons of doing the project in the first place. So I'm also going to change that to this. I like that a little better. Okay, so let's play with some of the fire stuff here real quick, just as we get towards the end of this. This is not meant to, we're not really getting into fire necessarily on this. I'm just going to lighten these up some more here. This is the Pro Acryl yellow. Got a couple of these to do. It'll still be lightened up even further. But before I get into the miniature, I definitely want that to be in place. Okay, there's our, got some of our gold right there. Now, what about in here? No, actually I'm going to do a little bit of, a little more on this gold here. Okay. Now for some more of our orange here. That's just the straight up fluorescent paint. Why? Because, well, it's going to be translucent enough so that my green shows from underneath it. But it's going to have a nice little influence, as you can see. Here, let's do a little more. Yeah, that's, again, nice little start on that. We're going to be doing more when it comes to when we get the figure on there. But it's a nice little start. Just getting that ball rolling on the objects. Right, look at how nice and translucent that is. And look, that they can see that this is lighter than the gray color over here. That is what I wanted, because if this was lighter than the flame color, well, that flame's not going to look terribly bright. Just get a little bit of this up here. Touch of it over here. Can lighten up some of this where it's really close to the skull or to our flame source. All the while making sure that we keep these lined up with the correct figure. I suppose I could just put a number on the base and somehow stick a sticker to the figure or something like that with a number. I think I might have even done that once in the past. So we're going to be adding darker oranges to this, but for right now, that's enough. Because until I have a figure there, we're starting to not have any context for that. So let's not get too far out. Like I said, let's get too far out over the skis. And the figure also could be blocking some of this light here too. I have to think about that. So I think what we'll do is we'll just throw some white and yellow together and just hit that right in those eyes. Touch on this skull here. And the last thing I will just play with here real quick, super quick here. Sometimes it's not a bad idea to do something like this and put some cracks in. Like that. I'm going to basically wipe out the text that we created there. But that sort of gives it a little extra zip too. I could sculpt the cracks in there, but sometimes in terms of scale, it's almost a little bit better to just paint those in. Now I'll just do a couple of them over here. Okay, so that's it. We have ourselves some nice bases. You see how to do some of the scroll work and such. Again, I'll probably be cleaning that off or clean that up off camera and such. But our next episode, well, you know what that's going to be. It's going to be down and dirty, the shaded base coat time, just slapping the colors all over the place. So as always, I just want to say thanks. Thanks so much for supporting these episodes. All of this, everything on Patreon is huge. It's literally what keeps these lights on and the internet going. So without it, there would be no videos. I can tell you that right now. So once again, thanks everybody. I appreciate that. And I'll catch you on episode 2.